My name is Joop, but some of you might also know me by my Instagram alter ego parked in Dutch streets. Ever since I became a car spotter, I've met loads of interesting fellow car enthusiasts and car spotters. In this podcast, you'll meet one of these car lovers every episode. We'll talk about the cars of their lives, the cars they like, and the cars they despise. This is the Carspotcast. Welcome back to a new episode of the Carspotcast. We're already on the 5th episode today, and we're welcoming a new guest, a guest I had to drive all the way to Apeldoorn for, which is about a 2-hour drive, I think, for me. We're currently seated in a former Saab dealership, but it is now also filled with Alfa Romeos, Porsches, that kind of stuff. I'm interviewing a guy that is very well known to the Dutch Saab community, a guy that has proven that you can make a pretty good living from tuning Saabs. DionHPT, I can say, right?
Yes, that's an abbreviation of it a bit.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Joop.
Glad to have you.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
I'm happy that the whole Saab community of the Netherlands will listen to this episode.
We dearly hope so.
So, can you tell people what is HPT? What does it stand for?
In the beginning, it was more for a high pressure turbo because we're driving a Saab, and then the HPT Saab is the Saab to have. But I turned it around to high performance technologies in the last few years. When I made it a company, it was just a forum name, to be honest.
For anyone who is not a Saab fan,
which will be a lot,
which will probably be quite a lot of people. Can you tell people, who are you, what do you do for a living, and how do we know each other?
Yeah, I'm Dion Hillebrink. I'm from Duiven in the Netherlands. For some reason, I just plowed into a Saab when I was 18, when I was doing the higher technical studies on automotive management in Arnhem. And then somebody told me, hey, the Saab, you can tune that quite well. So I began twisting and going and turning with that and just finding my way into the Saabs. For that reason, I just became very well known during the years, and I even started my company in tuning Saabs, and that's also how we met, because I tuned your Saab. So that's the way that we're sitting here, and it's being it's being a really big business now. Yeah,
it's I can tell, and it's also because you all develop your own software, right? Yeah. For you, it's easy to tune Saabs now.
For me, it's all about doing the health check. That's the most important part for my job. Of course, we're now not only tuning Saabs, I'm also specialized in other brands during the years. But for Saabs, it's becoming quite easy because you know what works for people. So you just talk with someone, and then you feel, he needs this or that on his car, and then you're going to make that happen and just check it, drive it. Yeah. But during the years, I just developed further, of course.
And you also do custom tunes, right? Is that a big trajectory? How do I say it? A big trajectory?
No, every car is custom tuned for some reason. Only if you have your really standard car, can just apply a software stage 1, we call it like that, and just drive away. But to be honest, all the Saabs are getting really old, because now we're at the point that Saab's already been away of the market for 12 years. Sadly, to be honest, I find this very sad, but logical in a way. It doesn't have any reason to exist anymore for some reason. It's quite harsh on the community. But
Saab forum will go very hard on you right now.
I will be killed probably. No, in certain ways, every car is custom tuned, but we do also kind of big projects which you start with a 9.3 with 150 horsepower, and you end up with something with 400 horsepower.
That's insane, yeah.
And then in an old convertible, which is undrivable after 200 horsepower already, but that's the kick of tuning such a car.
You just want to make ridiculous things at this point.
Yeah.
I remember I got my Saab in the middle of the Corona crisis, right? And I bought a 9.3 convertible, 1.8T with 150 HP. And I remember I bought it in, Assen? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Also, and I drove all the way to Duiven, which is, I think, 1.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
And on the drive towards you, I thought, holy fuck, what the hell did I buy? It was like sort of slow. I owned a very modern Volvo before, and it was aging. It was, an older car. It has character, but it was an older car. And then you tuned it, and I'm happy that I did that directly after buying my car, because it was such a different car. It went from 150 HP to 225, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. 220 to 25. Yeah.
With a manual, that engine just feels so nippy. It's every time I bring it to my specialist, the Ben Gosses, you know him,
of course.
He always says your engine still works very well. He says so. It's it's
you just revive it when you tune it, but it does so much for the whole of the car because it's a small investment, but the whole car gets a different feel to it. It's far more dynamical. Yeah. It just drives so nice, and then you have like an all other car. It's like
it really is.
Yeah, it is not sporty because it's a slushy,
but it's more nippy. It's more nimble. It feels more less like a big car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's quite easy to tune Saabs, right? Because they did a lot with software mapping on the same engines. So different trim levels would be the same engine with different software.
It's more like they did a lot of there were guys in Sweden who did a lot of freeware for it. So the community was quite big already from the startup, like 2008, 2007. This freeware came online, so people could write and read their own Saab. So you see, in Sweden and in the USA at first, a lot of guys tuning their own cars. So there were a lot of guys, really, really like geeky, nerdy types who were like digging into this software. And then they found out that when you normally tune a car, you need a lot of extra info. You need everything and more. And with these cars, it was quite simple because the software is so clearly, the packaging is really nice.
Yeah.
And also you have just like such big hardware limitations that are so far beyond what it's doing stock that you have so much room in it. You can test and you're not nowhere near the limits.
It's insane, yeah.
Yeah, so you have so much room, and that makes it so easy to do because a few years back, like 5-6 years ago, I started tuning other cars, and it was like the biggest massacre of all times when I was behind my computer that my girlfriend was saying, "You're already staring at the same blue screen for 5 hours. What the fuck are you doing?"
You can swear, no worries. I just put the explicit mode on Spotify.
Far better, yeah.
No, I mean, you gave my car 50% more HP, which is insane to me.
And it's durable because you're still driving it.
I drove, I think, I drove about 40,000 kilometers since with it. And the thing is, I had to get a new clutch, of course, but that shit happens. It's an old car and you need to maintain stuff, but it's durable. Yeah. And the car even gets more economical on fuel too. It's not, there's no spawn, but I would recommend getting your Saab tuned to basically anyone. I know someone who literally just bought a Saab and he brought, I think it's a 99, 93.
Yeah.
So just after the facelift of the 93, just the 93 OG.
Yeah.
And I told him, get that car tuned. He's like, should I? It's a little old thing. I said, get it tuned. You won't regret it. Because it has, like, in base, it has 150 or something like that.
154 horsepower, yeah.
And it can get to 220. It can get aero power. Insane. It's insane.
And even with these ones, they are like 300 kilograms lighter than your convertible.
Yeah.
That it transforms and they're really quick. Yesterday evening we were driving this 400 horsepower convertible on the highway, and I was with a friend going to a padel class.
Yeah.
And there was a guy with a X6, BMW X6M was just chasing us on the behind, and then we drove away, and it was like had a neck and neck race, and this guy just put open his window. What the hell do you have under your hood? You know, yeah. This is why this is so fun.
It is. The tune works the best when sprinting from 82 to 120. That's when it works best. It makes the car, of course, quicker from 0 to 100, but those in between sprints are insane. That's ridiculous.
It's all about torque.
We're going to the first segment, which is the car spotlight, and in this topic, you can talk about any car that you want to talk about. It can be a car that you recently walked into, had an interaction with, struck your attention, whatever. So, Dion, I asked you to prepare one and choose a car. So you go.
I have your avatar as my choosing.
Yes, we're finally talking about the thesis. Yes.
Finally, you can
see how I took 4 episodes to not talk about the thesis.
And now we're going the thesis alive.
I want to prove to people that I'm not always about force or theses. So no, but we're going to talk about the thesis because exciting stuff. You just bought one.
I just bought one.
insane.
And I'm so hoping that you're buying one too.
I'm gonna buy one. It is this fever dream that I need to get out of my head.
Yeah.
We're going to Festival of the Unexceptional in July, and I want to go there with a thesis. So before then, I'll either own a Lancia Thesis or a Fiat Chroma. But
Fiat Chroma. This one I didn't saw coming.
you haven't listened to the previous episodes.
No,
you haven't.
And I also explained why.
Of course, yeah. But I just want to buy a Fiat Chroma to annoy my friend Dan.
Yeah.
He hates it, and I love it. So, but anyways, thesis, you go.
Thesis, yeah. For some reason, I'm obsessed with it. It's
Same.
like it's like when it came out, it's the same with the Fiat Stilo. I had one. I had a Abarth, and then I was a little bit, and it was such a bad car because Fiat is good at making little cars.
Yes.
It also radiates a bit on the submarks like Lancia and everything. And
you're literally describing the Chroma anyways. But
yeah. I tuned one Chroma and was driving. It's like quite a good car, and then it just pops up with all these warning messages.
It was meant to be a Lancia.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, thesis.
It has the contact, the
key in the middle. Yeah,
the key in the middle.
It has the same platform as the 9.3.
Yeah, I know.
It's built on the same platform, so it's related to the Vectra and the 9.3.
Yeah, that's why you're just it's the same thing. But the Lancia thesis, I came back to it.
Yeah,
it's my dream. And whenever I began driving Saab 9.5s, literally 10 years ago, I was always like, I just want one. And every time I see one, I'm like, oh, I just want it so badly. But when you see one in like typical Fiat owner spec. So it's like dirty and only the biggest enthusiasts clean their cars, it looks like. I was thinking about buying a thesis, so I always bought cars in Switzerland, and at some point I said to my best friend and I said, we're gonna buy one. So we literally
You've been looking for one for like over a year.
No, 5 years already.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm just looking for 5 years because I have a list of things that I want.
It's so hard to find a good one.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
And if you hear then, so after everything, we just looked at a few in Holland and they were all quite crappy, and I'm not so into importing cars from Italy. Maybe someone is listening.
No, me neither. No. I get it.
And there was one for sale in Sicily with a 3.2, and it also was B4 bulletproof. So like all,
in Italy the thesis was I wouldn't say successful because it wasn't a successful car, but it was a little bit successful because all the ministries chose theses. Yeah. So all the ministers and high secretaries, they drove theses back then, and also bulletproof. And the mob, of course. Yeah.
No, so I was just looking at it, and then I think 2 years ago there was 2 for sale, 3.2s, because I want the 3.2. I know it's a bad decision, but I want the Busso. Yeah. So I was looking at it. I was thinking, let's go and look at it. So we went there to this guy. He was actually called Luigi. So how Italian can it be? So I actually just got my V6 convertible picked up in Basel, Switzerland. So we drove. Right. We drove on the way to Zurich. We passed this guy. So we were there, and he had 3 for sale. All 3 were 3.2 automatics with sunroof. So
sunroof, holy shit!
They're all with not the sunroof, but the solar roof.
Yes, the solar roof. That is so good. Imagine Lancia introduced a car in 2001 that had a sunroof with a solar panel in it. They introduced a car in 2001 that had adaptive cruise control in 2001.
Did you ever see one with it?
Yes. I brought it. I looked it down on YouTube. It was a Polish guy trying to repair it because, of course, it was broken. Yeah, insane that they actually tried to put all that technology into a car. But yeah, sorry.
Did you know also the Fiat Stilo was destined to get that system because it's in the booklet. Oh. That's why I know it, but I've never seen it. Anyway, we're just test driving this car, and he said, "Yeah, you always have to take out the automatic gearbox and replace this and this, and then it drives good."
It's a Japanese gearbox, right?
I think it's Asian one.
Yeah.
It's a 5-speed, and the 3.2 is a 5-speed.
Oh, okay.
Because in the 3.0 you have a 4-speed, from my remembrance. Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
And then, so we could test drive one. So we were driving, and for my feeling, it was driving on 5 cylinders. And this guy was the specialist in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And then we came to a stop, and we had to turn backwards. So we put the car in reverse, and then it didn't go in reverse. So from that moment on, we were talking to each other, and we don't want to buy this one. And then after I think 2 years, there popped one up in Switzerland who you told me was already for sale for quite so long. But I just called these guys and said, yeah, you can buy it and export it, but it's an old car and blah, 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 blah. So for some reason I can't drive in Switzerland. So a friend of mine popped over to Switzerland to check it. And he was like, that's a nice car. It doesn't even stick on the side of the seats because you have like the Lancia thesis is built with the most cheap ass plastics.
Yeah.
and the soft lacquer will come off every button.
You see, the thing is, they used a lot of nice metal, a lot of nice wood, a lot of lovely leather, and then very cheap plastics.
Yeah.
So
So
typical Italian car.
Yeah, a typical Italian car, and it drives also not that well, to be very honest, because the Skyhook suspension is mostly broken and everything. So, but anyway, this car looked quite decent. 150,000 kilometers on the odometer. So I was like, let's buy it. So I just offered them a lot less than they wanted, and they said, yes, it's yours. But now it has to be exported. So I hoped it to be here for you, but it isn't. So I
guess I need to come back.
Yeah, you need to come back. But maybe we can do a thesis meet.
Oh, man. We should make a special about it then.
Yeah.
And if I also invite Guido. You know him? Guido Kroos?
Yeah, I heard about it.
He has the Bicolore. He has a Bicolore, and I think he bought one last year or 2 years ago with 35,000 kilometers.
Oh, that's really nice.
And he just uses that daily. My hero.
That's so cool.
He also his profession is trading in Italian design furniture. So perfect.
It's, then this car is meant for you.
It's meant for him.
It's like having really good taste, because you can get better Italian cars.
Yes.
You can just buy a Maserati for like this. In the end of the year,
the Maserati also will break down, but
yeah, but I think in the end of the month it will cost you the same.
Yeah, you can also buy a Mazda 6, but that is boring.
Yeah, and that's why I never did that. That's looking. If you look here in our showroom, you will only see like really eclectic kind of cars, and that's what I'm about.
Yes.
So I want different things.
Yeah, I get that. That's exactly. I completely get it. Like you don't have to convince me. I completely get it.
No. When you're looking at your Instagram, you directly know that you're also looking at quirky stuff. And
I need a thesis. It's gonna happen someday. I hope sooner than later.
But you're not so picky as me.
No, I'm not. But still, finding a good one is hard, because in the Netherlands there's like 2 for sale or 3. They're all shit. Especially the Bicolore blue silver one. I really want to point that out. The one that is in the middle of the country. Please, if you're interested, don't go there. It sucks ass. I've been there and I left after 2 minutes. No, it's still for sale. It's still for sale. It actually got some attention in Autoweek. And they told that the car actually looked quite good in the advertorials. I can confirm it does not. It smells. It looks dented, scratched, rusty. No, please don't go there. Anyways,
only the keyboard warriors looked at it.
Exactly. Yeah. Only the thing is, importing a car from Germany or Switzerland would be interesting to me, because German people, but especially Swiss people, take good care of their cars. They're probably well maintained.
But for German cars, I think Germans look really good after their cars for the first 5 or 6 years, and then they get neglected, and that's a bit different with Switzerland. Switzerland, you have to MFK, and if the MFK is, you never know when it pops up. You just get a letter in the mailbox, and it says this month, this moment you have to go, and you can only move the moment twice. And that's it. You have to take off of your work. It doesn't, because the car has to go to the MFK, and you can just let your car dealer do it or something like this. But it has to be, and it's completely unlogical, because it depends on which car, how old you are. There is a sort of matrix behind.
Quite a good system, actually.
Yeah, and your car can't leak any oil, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And if you have a classic car, you have the Veteran MFK, so you have longer in between the MFKs. Okay. But if your bumper is scratched, you don't get it approved.
I mean, there's cars that you could buy with a sort of sketchy backgrounds, like for example some Saabs, or maybe a Volkswagen or Ford or whatever. A thesis needs to be good, because if the background sucks, you'll remember that for the whole period of owning that thesis, it will be terrible. So you just need to get one that check out. That's 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And eventually it's just a bit like the newest Saab 9.5.
It's exactly sort of same unicorn.
Yeah, and also the same quality for some parts.
Yeah.
Because you have like 12,500 cars which are produced, and all the spare parts are like unobtainable.
Yeah.
Some parts are really good, really easy getting, but backlights of a Saab or a thesis are a big
the light
problem.
bar, right?
The light bar.
You fix that too, right?
I fixed that, of course. But also the rear lights are a very big problem with these cars. And I think if you want a set of rear lights for your thesis,
you're going to be troubled.
You're going to be in trouble. Yeah, and the fun fact is also for Lancia is the one big Lancia specialist in my neighborhood is Leo Arendse.
Mm-hmm.
He specializes in kappa's.
Yeah.
And
I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I drove there once, when I had
Kappa's good too.
I had a Thema 8.32 for a few months, and then I sold it to a friend. And then I drove to him with this car, and I said, it needs some electrical fixing. He said, no, I only touch kappa's or thesis. So I came back a few months later and said, I want to buy a thesis. What do you think of it? No, I don't do work at thesis anymore. After buying one, he was just going out of business on that one also.
There's this one guy in, his name is Gerrit Radstad. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
He's known as the thesis whisperer of the Netherlands. Like,
doesn't he also do something with the 8.32?
No idea.
Oh, I think so. They're also typical guys. It's really like a
like the Saab community. Yeah. Oops, again the Saab community. Okay, I also chose car spotlights. Is there any car in the past 2 days that was released that you have an opinion on?
Released when I have an opinion on?
Because I do.
Oh, tell me.
The Alfa Romeo Milano.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
What the hell is Stellantis doing?
Oh, yes, literally, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about it because it was so ugly.
Better.
Yesterday, all the news was about it, all the automotive news. And then a coworker showed me the picture of the white one, I think. They had a red pre-production one and a white, and this grille is
hideous. This car has become a caricature of itself. And I think the Tonale that was released a year ago, I like that one. Looks good. I mean, it's still an SUV, so not really my cup of tea. But the Milano, the base design is so generic. It could literally be anything. It could be a Ford. It could be an Opel. It could be... the back looks like a Nissan Kicks. I don't know if you know it. American car. Yeah, look it up while I just gibber around. But what they have done, they have put all these hugely dramatic details on it. Let's start with the interior. The seats in the car look like they came straight from a fucking Ferrari in a 30,000 euros, 40,000 euros crossover. It looks absolutely fucking ridiculous. Then go to the front. They have two options for grills. I hate both. One grill in the Scudetto, the triangle that is the grill, is just the Lancia the Alfa Romeo logo, but super huge, which looks absolutely fucking ridiculous. The other is a sort of honeycomb grill.
I didn't even see that one. Oh, wait, I have a picture here.
The other is a sort of honeycomb grill with an idiotic font written Alfa Romeo over it that sort of wants to throw back to the early 1910s, 1930s, when Alfa Romeo was still making touring cars and that sort of stuff, the pre-war stuff. Oh. Then on the C-Style, there is a fucking huge snake for some reason. It is just... The
thing looks painful, to be honest.
Listen, what I do like, I have to give Stellantis that. I think it's really nice that they're keeping brands that should have been dead a long while.
Of course. In
existence. I think that is really nice. I also think it's really nice that they give these brands a lot of freedom in designing. So, for example, if you take a look at an Opel Corsa, a Peugeot 208, and a Lancia Ypsilon, the Lancia Ypsilon looks completely different. Of course, when you take a side shot of the car, you can see it's related to the Corsa, but it looks different, and I like that. What I do think is that they're sort of becoming the GM of the 21st century, rebadging everything they see. However, I do still have hope. I do still have hope for the bigger cars. For the bigger cars of Stellantis, because the bigger and luxury brands of Stellantis will mostly be DS, which is French, but then Lancia, Alfa Romeo, Maserati.
That would be very cool.
those are going to be the four
if they
luxury
have their
brands.
own personality, it will be very
Exactly.
cool.
So I do think that the future bigger cars of Stellantis will be very heavily Italian.
You hope so.
I hope so. I am keeping the faith. I'm really keeping the faith in Stellantis to cut Chrysler, cut DS. What else will they cut?
They'll probably be Stellantis, so they cut everything because they have to cut some costs down. And eventually, everything you make unique will cost more money than make something generic.
Yeah.
So I think we're going at a phase in car production that all cars from the outside and maybe the inside
will look different.
Look different, but the technical aspects of everything will look the same. We're now looking at Opel Grandland X, Peugeot 3008, and the sad fact is also that all the quality parts, which were really long ago, that we're used to cars doing like 300,000 kilometers, are going backwards very hard. Maybe it would be so cool that they also have their own feeling for driving, because that's the other thing.
I have talked to people who've driven. I haven't driven all the Stellantis cars because they're releasing so many cars. It's not you can't keep up with it. But I have talked to people who've driven both Astras and, for example, 308s. They do drive different. People feel that they are different, but I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me.
No,
it's a bit too generic. I hate what they did to the new Milano. The details, the car has become a caricature of itself. It looks ridiculous, absolutely fucking ridiculous. However, I do think that it will become successful. Just not with the traditional Alfa Romeo audience. Okay. Because people that need a small, fashionable crossover, they will buy this stuff. However, the people that are now selling old Giulias or Stelvios or need a second car, they won't buy it. Because it's just a Peugeot 2008 in drag.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. But the fact is, do they kill Alfa Romeo with it or not? Because the brand name is still there, but the core values of this brand, where are those core values in this new car? And
that's why I'm keeping hope, because I think the core values will come back in the bigger cars. Anyways, that's the car spotlight. I liked yours better than mine. Like, the thesis is just...
No, but I like this one because it is an interesting conversation about where the modern car makers go.
How is the car world developing? And I do see... I know you are too. I really like electric cars. I do think electric cars can have soul. I think you own an electric car with soul. I own an electric car with soul. He owned a Taycan. I own the budget Taycan, the Ioniq 6. But and it's also, for me, it's really ridiculous that we're still making small cars with petrol engines.
Yeah, because
those cars should have been electric 30 years ago.
Yeah, because the problem is also when you drive. I drive some rental cars now and then. I was driving this Opel Corsa Peugeot 206, 208 thing. I was like, this engine is so lethargic. That's the only word I can describe it. It's like it doesn't react on the gas. You have
ultimate base spec.
Yeah, ultimate base spec. This is an ideal car to go electric.
Absolutely.
And it's in Holland. These cars are like, because when they're petrol, they're like just as expensive as electric almost.
And if we started this whole transition way earlier than we did, cars would have been electric now, and nobody would have cared about petrol engines and would have had range anxiety and stuff.
Only in the margin.
I don't know about your car, but my car has now a range of 550 kilometers. I do not have range anxiety with that car.
Okay, now mine did 330, and then on a really good day like today will be 420 or something this. So it's okay for what I do with it. But anyway, it's like I don't get it. But the whole infrastructure is maybe on some points up to par, and on other points it disappoints, and on some points it's better than you want. So it's not equaled out yet. And if things will equal out yet, it will have a great future.
Yeah. Wow, look at you. You should become a politician.
Yeah, I don't know.
With only standing points on cars.
That's only standing point on cars. I have some shares in Fastnet, which would also depreciate quite hard. So I hope to get them up rolling.
Okay, Dion, we're going to the cars of your life. So in this topic, the audience meets the cars of your life and the cars that have played a vital role in your life. So first we're going to start with your parents' car. Because have you always been a car enthusiast or?
Not really.
Okay.
It began.
What then? Tell me, what was the car that sparked your interest for cars?
My uncle had a 911 from the exact year you don't have to ask me because I don't know. It's a 930, so a 911 Turbo 3.0 with a 4-speed manual gearbox. And when I was, I think, a year or 6 or 7, I was sitting on the back seat with all his stuffed animals in it, because he had a stuffed bear and everything on the back seat of this car. And then the turbo whoosh, just in second gear, this car went to 120 or something like this with such a power. And I think that made me an enthusiast.
Wow. And then was it in the beginning only like supercars or sports cars, or?
No, everything.
Everything.
I just collected Siku cars, the really detailed ones. And then it just went from this side to another side of the room, it's like, it doesn't, for now it's Saab is the main line and everything.
Yeah.
But I can eat it all,
Yeah.
We talked about this before the podcast, and I think
Omnivores.
Yeah, it's
car omnivores. Yeah.
We all like different things. So I can be enthusiastic about a Ford Escort 1.1 CL.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you're a Ford guy, of course.
Yeah. You know how to sweet talk me.
Yeah.
So what was your first car actually?
I drove an Alfa 156. Yeah.
Wait, your first car was not a Saab?
No.
Oh, a 156.
And even my second car wasn't a Saab.
What was that?
My second car was a Fiat Stilo even. So
it
was
that
an Italian
one.
car in first. No, I bought a 156 1.8 twin spark.
Yeah.
And I noticed in Hogeveen, so in Holland, if you ever want to buy a car, never buy a car in Hogeveen. Anyway, so we just under 200,000 kilometers, and I went everywhere with it. It was lovely. It broke down a lot, of course.
What color was it?
It was like the dark blue. And then with the dark blue velour interior and the wooden steering wheel.
Oh, sexy, yes.
You have these dials in
the gauges,
the gauges.
Yeah.
And of course the coolant gauge was always really low because the thermostat was broken. It's a typical Alfa. But it was such a nice car, and it also sparked a bit of enthusiasm to go further in this love with cars. And then you wanted... Yeah, it brought me everywhere. It also had such, such a presence, this one.
So good. What was your first Saab? Just an extra question.
It was a 9.5, a really slow one. Also kickstarted the tuning because it was 150 horsepower. You were talking about the...
It's the same engine as my car? Or?
No, the older one. Because it was one from 98. 98.
Yeah. So that was the first year of actually the 9.5.
Yeah, and it was that also sparked my love for the Mark 195. I also have a soft spot for that. They always tend to smell the same. That's really weird.
Yes, Saabs have a typical smell.
If you open the door, you just know. If you blindfold me and you open all the doors in our showroom, and there's 195 from 98 until 2001, and you open the door, and it's exactly this one is it. And I can also tell you which exact year it is.
I have that thing with Mercedes. They have a typical smell.
Yeah, and that's really that's so cool. For some reason, it feels like home at this moment.
Yeah. Your current cars. People, please take a seat. Start listing them.
Oh, I sold a few, so it's quite alright. So it begins in I think with a Saab 9.3 convertible V6.
That's your
actual
love, right?
last produced V6 convertible that Saab ever made.
You have a Griffin?
No, it's not a Griffin because the
Griffin
V6,
okay.
They only made V6s until March 2010, and mine is from September, so it's really special.
I love it. Here comes the Saab freak.
It's all the Saab freak. So, and I have something with that because I also had the last chassis number Saab 9.5 new generation with V6.
Okay.
I have 9.5 Troll. It's a special,
insane,
quirky version of a 9.5.
Quirky, a fast version, you could say.
Fast version with special bumper kit from the Works tuner from Saab. And mine was owned by the owner of this Works tuner for a few years in Switzerland.
How many were made?
Around 250 of those.
Insane, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have a list. So also the thesis had to have a sunroof. Mm-hmm. And that's also my thing with these Saab. So this one has all the options you could get, even the pull-out special baggage floor it has, and it has leather around the sides of the seats and everything. So it's a really special car. I'm rebuilding it now. Okay. So my friend Tom is repainting it And we did the engine and everything on it. So it's like new-ish how new I could get it. So all parts on the interior are new and everything. So that's my second Saab. And then I drive a Porsche 911 991.2 GTS.
Oh yes.
Bucket list. Yeah, I even traded in my newer 992 for it because the 991.2 is, in my opinion, the 911 to have.
It looks so good.
Yeah. And it just makes a bit more noise and everything. It's a bit of very eco-friendly moments. Then I drive a Mini Cooper John Cooper Works from 2018. And I have a Morris 8 from 1933.
This is such an outlier in your collection.
But I have not another outlier. I also have a BMW E30, which was owned by from a relative. Yeah. And he sadly died, but then I got the car. It was a 318 IS, so with the 16-valve engine. But the engine was dead. So I thought, what can I do better than put a Saab engine in this 3 Series?
I didn't know. What engine did you put in there?
I put a B204 in it from an old 9.3. So actually the 9.3 of your friend, which you were talking about, that engine with 400,000 kilometers on the Odo.
Oh my god.
Transferred into my E30 with a gearbox from an Opel Omega.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what a Frankenstein car.
Yeah, it's a really Frankenstein car. And the fun fact is it looks totally stock from outside.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and so I have the Saab engine management system in it and everything works. Even the...
What is it? Trionic?
5 in this case. And even the fuel consumption gauge, which you have in the E30 under your ref counter, is still working.
Nice.
So I got everything working. So I got good brakes all around. So I got 4-pot brakes, 4 in the front. Everything is just made like it should be.
A Saab Beamer.
A Saab Beamer. So everybody will kill me about transplanting a Saab engine in a car.
How much HP does it have?
Around 400.
That's ridiculous. I love it.
And also all the exhaust is damped. Like it has 3 dampers. So it's really, really quiet. And then it's so fast.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, it's so good. But actually, you see that quite often that people build Saab engines in their cars. Right? Yeah. There's also, I think in the UK, there's a whole Vauxhall community that builds Saab engines in their cars.
Vauxhall Combo with a Saab engine, you have it. Yeah. Everything. So it's made really easy because the platform of it is like sort of the same as an Opel Astra or Vauxhall Cavalier in this case. So you can just swap it over. The whole Facebook pages, guys are making brackets and everything. When I did this, I had to make a sump, everything. It was such a journey. It took about 2 years, I think, to get all the engine mounts done because I wanted hydraulic engine mounts because everybody's doing rubber engine mounts. No, I wanted hydraulic because I wanted the driveline being just as subtle as it was in the original car. Mm-hmm.
Your future car. It can be anything you want, anything you need, anything that's still on your bucket list.
Oh, that's a really hard one because I'm still. You probably saw the Ferrari 812 GTS in the showroom, so that's also a bucket list thing. But I'm not. I don't know. I have everything which I want, and I'm.
That is such a good thing to say.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Or you have owned anything that you want.
Yeah, because I owned a respective amount of cars and
how many?
I think more than 150. I keep the ownership. I'm 32.
Insane, yeah. Okay.
So, but we were wheeling and dealing in Switzerland with cars, and then we drove past there was a car dealer, and they had a Volvo S80 V8, and we were talking to each other. Oh, I just want to drive it. Oh, let's buy one and then see if we can sell it.
So it was also like a business.
It was also a bit like a business in quirky cars. So. Only in the end, we bought most of the cars which are on my bucket list. But maybe I know one which is not really standard because my head I just want the Ferrari just to drive it. But I also know I will be quite unhappy with all the costs. Unpopular opinion, I really like the Mercedes AMG 5.5 B-turbo engine. And then put that in a Mercedes GLS. So I know you hate SUVs. But
the GLS is so ridiculous. It's so big.
Yeah, I also like the G-Wagon, but that's everybody has a G-Wagon. Yeah. So actually, think about the G-Class and then a G63 AMG, and then with this engine, which is like, for me as tuner boy, it's like you can just just tune it and you get 1100 Newton meters or 1150. It just pulls and pulls like a freight train, such a thing. And that would be, I think, would be a very good combination for me. But that's maybe a thing I want to have in the future. That's one, that one is going through my mind. And also, now we're talking about it, I get heated up.
Your bucket list is starting to ring again.
Yeah, it's ringing again. And I also have a search thing for the Q7 V12 TDI.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
But I know, I'm not the SUV guy anymore.
Yeah.
I drove
Then get a V10.
I also...
Is the V12? Or
no,
V10
it's a
TDI?
V10 TDI. But
V10, V10 or W12.
W12. I searched for W12, but I just wanted to tend to be a bit reliable if it's possible.
Then don't get a V12.
No, but the V10 is a really
W12,
really nice concept because I like young timers, of course, because that's cars of my era.
Yeah,
and
that you grew up with, that had prestige when you grew up.
And they have weird things. So a few weeks ago, we had a 6 Series from a car enthusiast CQ dealer here, and it has night vision. It's a car from 2007. It had night vision on it. So at that moment,
a 6 Series BMW.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I knew that S classes had it, but I'm not. I didn't know
I had an S class S600 V12 a few weeks ago for tuning. It also had it. It's like such a special car, and I really like these kind of beginning 2000 really quirky cars with weird options and very expensive things. Because think about the VW Phaeton, you could have it heliochromatic paint on it. It was 12,000 euros, if I'm not mistaken, because I lost a few hours in the configurator.
I can tell.
So that's really nice. But all the really expensive cars, so like I just ditched that idea. I drove a few of those. We always have here these kind of cars, but they're nice to drive for 200 kilometers, and then you're done.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think the sentiment of owning a young timer is nicer, I would say. It has emotions added to it compared to a new supercar.
Yeah,
of course, it's the perfect driving experience, but to own it, I don't know.
No, I think I could be really happy with a Fiat Ulysses or something like this.
Oh yes, not the modern one. You need the Eurovan.
Yeah, you need the Eurovan one.
Yeah, good.
Or for my part, the Lancia Fedra, and then
yes,
with the V6 in it, I think it still is.
It's not a Busso, but anyways.
Not a Busso. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can tell. I'm happy to see what will come next. Okay, Dion, we're going on to the next segment, which is the car conversation. And in this segment, I will ask you as many questions as possible within 30 seconds. You must give answers as quick as possible, and after we will discuss them. Good?
Okay.
You have no idea what I'm going to ask you, but we'll see how many you can answer. Good?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Good. 3, 2, 1. What's the most powerful car you ever tuned?
Mercedes S65 AMG.
What's the most overrated car?
Audi A8.
Best car you ever owned?
Oh, this one is hard. Best car I ever owned. Mini John Cooper Works.
Only ever tuned Saabs or never tuned Saabs anymore?
Only ever tuned Saabs.
Best engine to tune?
5.5 Mercedes V8 B-Turbo. Yes.
And last one, worst new car for sale?
Dacia Spring.
Okay, most powerful car you ever tuned?
S65 AMG. So the V12 with 6. It was also the most.
Is it the sedan or just a regular?
No, it was the sedan. This one is really hard to tune, but it was the most powerful. So you're growing like 1400 Newton meters when you're de-restricted. It's insane. It just pulls and pulls. When Joep came here, I was driving the Panamera V8 S diesel.
Oh my god, that is such a fun daily.
Yeah. So it's such a fun daily. But this also pulls like you're from 1400 revs. It just pulls 850 Newton meters. Jeez. And this one is in stock form then, and it just pulls like a freight. And that's also what the S65 does. And the V12 is still so special. It's so special.
I can imagine. I have driven once a V12, a Mercedes Maybach S650.
Oh,
a convertible.
Oh, yeah. That's also so cool.
It felt like nothing else. It was so comfortable. It was ridiculous. Okay, most overrated car, Audi A8. Why?
For some reason, I just work for Audi 1 day a week at the moment.
Oh, really?
They are they are so complicated, and they're so I don't know. And they're so overrated. They don't drive that well, if you think. They all look the same. If you see an Audi A8, it looks the same like an A6. Or maybe the A6 looks the same as an A8. I don't know. But they have so much trouble. And
the newer generations, you would say.
Yeah, the newer generations. Yeah. So that for me, that's really overrated. Maybe most of those cars are overrated. Also, most German cars are a bit overrated. But I drive one.
Big statements here.
No, I drive one, but it's if you're in an era where electric cars bring you so much comfort and so much silence, and then you're stepping in a car which is really big but isn't that spacious.
Yes.
And also brings a lot of trouble with really complicated engine technique and complicated other techniques where even dealers can find faults in it.
For me, it would make perfect sense if a brand like Rolls-Royce would have gone electric like 20 years ago. Because the whole experience is power, luxury, silence.
Actually, I was parked in Monaco 3 weeks ago next to the Spectre dealer demo, and it's so insanely big that at that moment it all makes sense. Because I had a BMW Z4 as a rental, so I parked it next to it and was like, I had to look up against the door, and then I even didn't saw the door.
SUV, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking, have you ever been in Monaco?
I have, yeah.
Do you know the parking garages?
No, I haven't.
They're not that spacious.
No,
so
true.
Imagine driving your Spectre through that parking lot, and it's like 2 meters wide.
My god, no, I can imagine.
Yeah, but that's I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Best car you ever owned, the Mini. I did not expect that answer from you.
I also didn't expect the answer from me, but in the time pressure.
What you do under pressure, right?
Yeah, what you do under pressure. I have a few Saabs which are really nice cars, but I'm also wanted to keep Saab a bit out of the podcast because it's.
And the thing is, what makes them nice cars is that they are faulty.
Yeah,
they're not perfect.
Not perfect. No, and I drive a Mini, of course, a quite new one, and it's a John Cooper Works. So it's really also tuned, of course. It's really fast.
Yeah,
it has good cruise control. It even has it's not radar. It works with the video camera, but it works quite well. It's silent. It's very economical. Yeah. I sit in it really good. Car stereo is very good because I'm really. I find
you need some good sound.
I need some good sound. So if I buy a Porsche, it's always with Burmester. If I buy a Saab, it has to have all the speakers around, and it's also it's the same for every other car. So no, that one is. I bought one with 150,000 kilometers on, so it's quite old. I really love it. It just shifts good. It's so fast. It has grip. It's everything.
As a daily, I would say. I owned a Mini Cooper before I owned the Ioniq 6, which it was a good car. I owned a 2020 Cooper, which was basic. It didn't have any options except for the digital dash.
Also, you didn't have any, you have plastic wheel hubcaps, didn't you?
No, I had alloys, but only in summer. Oh. In winter, I had hubcaps.
In winter, yeah.
Which I sort of liked the hubcaps. It made it look like truttig.
Yeah.
But the thing, it was a good car. It drove well. It drove like a cart. It was fast. But I never felt anything towards that car. I never started to love it. Or any car that I've left, any car that I've sold, this sounds childish, but you get emotional selling a car. Doing that, I know my colleague drives it now. Vincent, shout out to Vincent. My colleague drives it now. I had no feelings. I was like, yeah, you can take it.
It does so many things so good that I'm getting enthusiastic of it being so everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it's more like I always had a daily which were mostly Saabs, which then this didn't work, then that didn't work. I just drove.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I drove a Jaguar XF for a really long time. It was a really nice car, but then the doors wouldn't lock. Then it would do a regeneration when I came home, so the whole street was white of smoke. But all these typical things. And this Mini John Cooper Works just is.
It works.
Yeah, but it also makes a lot of sounds, and I think that helps also. Because if you have a normal Cooper,
boys and their toys.
Yeah, boys and their toys. Yeah.
Okay, only tune Saabs and never tune Saabs anymore, and you chose only tune Saabs. That's what I love.
It's what I love. If I see a customer coming in and just leaving with such a big smile.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then
that's what I was exactly when you tuned the car. Best engine tune, of course, you chose that Mercedes engine that we already talked about. And worst new car for sale, Dacia Spring. You know that I am a sheer promoter of Dacia. Hashtag Daily Dose of Dacia. I love my Dacias.
I know.
So I have to be honest. I get why you chose the spring. It just had a really nice update, though.
Yeah.
It got completely renewed, nicer interior. I'm not sure, but it got like an update that is only meant for Europe, so not for the developing countries anymore. But I think 0 to 100 takes 18 seconds. Why did you choose it? Why do you?
Because every time I see one, I think somebody has some elderly person just drove his brommobiel. It's a typical Dutch thing, I think. Yeah. On the road. I don't know. It's just. I also have a very expensive. To be honest, I drove a Taycan, but the Taycan Turbo GT can be the most expensive car for sale. Who needs this? And then you have the Weissach package. So you buy electrical car, which weighs like 2,200 kilograms, and they say, let's take the back seat out because it's lighter that way.
You actually had that in a Taycan?
Yeah, you can order it.
Oh, ridiculous.
Yeah, you have to spec some tonight. Go into car configurator, lose some euros.
Yeah. Okay, Dion, we're going to the last segment of the podcast, which is the car search. I provide you of a budget and an objective for a search, and you have to come up with a top 3 of cars that you want to fill that objective with. Your search was, of course, tunable turbos for 10K. Of course, your whole a turbo is an essential part of tuning a car, as you do, right? So we went to look for tunable turbos for 10K, a top 3, and I'll let you start.
Okay.
Your number 3.
I have to take out my telephone because I had it in my notes.
You wanted to actually tell me before what you chose, and I said, no, I don't want to hear it. I want to be surprised.
Okay.
Because last week I had Lucas in the podcast. He's like the biggest Citroën guy ever. He chose a Honda Accord. I loved it. It was perfect. But I'm spoiling this.
He's a Citroën guy. Yeah, just choose a CX.
He has a CX, and he has BX, and he has a ZX. Okay, you're number 3.
It's a Ford Focus ST Mark II.
Ooh, with the 2.5T engine.
Sure.
I have to spoil a little bit. I chose a car with that engine too.
Oh, C30.
Nope.
Oh, no, let's go.
Yeah.
No, the Focus ST it has so much charm.
Yeah.
It only has one con, and that doesn't come with cruise control.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so outdated.
It's like a super nice car. You have a long 60. I owned one, so that's why I come up with it. And it's easy tunable. It's at this moment they're cheap. They have really high mileage.
Yeah.
So you're buying a really good car, and it's a Ford, so you can make it with a hammer.
Yeah, and the thing is, what Ford was known for in the zeros and early 10s and 90s, when it was still the European Ford, it was known for making great handling cars. A Focus is poor man's steering handling car. That is perfect. Just a shame that it won't be sold with cruise control. But I mean, if you want to own it for like a second car, then does it need cruise control?
No, but it's.
I think as a daily, my car needs cruise control. Like,
yeah, that's the only thing I have against it. That's why it's not on number 2, because of course, but. It's just it drives so well.
Yeah.
And even with a 1.6, it's a nice car to drive. It's slow, but it's nice. But
1.6, is it the... Oh, you mean
horsepower.
This is still the second generation. Okay, yeah.
You fall asleep. But
yeah. Those engines that Ford sold in that car are terrible. Yeah. The 1.6, 2.0, they're all atmospheric. Meanwhile, Volkswagen was selling turbocharged engines that would break down afterwards, but still they were way ahead.
Imagine walking into the Volkswagen showroom, and then they present you with a Golf.
Yeah,
and the Golf. Yes, it has a automatic gearbox with 2 clutches, and you have a turbo and compressor, 160 horsepower, and 0 to 100.
Then you go to the Ford,
7 seconds, and you come to the Ford, and then the salesman's like,
it's a 1.6.
1.6, and you also have 1.8 and the 2 liter, and it goes like this, and then you have a 2.0, and then you say, but we also have a 2.5 liter ST for you. It has double the power, double the fuel usage, and double the cost, but it will
be completely worth it.
Feet.
Yeah. Okay, I chose a hot hatch 2 as number 3, and it's actually very close to you right now because I chose something that's for sale right here. For 10K, I chose Giulietta. I chose Giulietta with a 1750 TBI. That is a good engine, right? It has standard. It has this one has driven 220,000 kilometers, which I always think is a bit of a
and was driven hard. I don't want to make an advertisement, but I got caught up with it one time on the highway, and I was driving 120. This guy just came past me, and I was like, "Hey, this license plate, I know this one."
Okay, so it's red. It has the nice multi-spoke wheels. Okay, it has a standard 238.5 HP. To what can you tune this, you think?
Yeah, 260 around, but you get a lot more torque because stock is 320, I think, or something.
I have no idea. Let me
you
look
go
to 340 Nm.
340, you go to 400. So then this engine just drives so well. It picks up really early.
Yeah.
It's easy to maintain.
Yeah.
You don't have the multi-air shizzle which you have in 1.4 because it's always giving you a headache.
Yeah. And the Giulietta, I've driven a 1.4 multi-air. Giulietta is a good car.
Yeah.
The drive is so nice. Maybe the looks are a bit... I mean, it is my cup of tea. I know that it cannot be everyone's cup of tea. But the drive of a Giulietta is... Yeah. I love a Giulietta. It's such a good car.
I actually drove 2 independent ones home this week, and I got one 1.4 manual and one 1.4 TCT, so the gearbox. I'm not a particular fan of the TCT gearbox, so I would swipe that one left.
This one's a manual too.
Yeah, this one is a manual.
Yeah.
And the TBI is just so reliable, and it's like a nice engine. It makes the Giulietta a hot hatch.
I can imagine.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I want to, again, give a shout out to Saab Apeldoorn, because you guys know how to write advertisements for cars. The advertisements are so nice. You're actually writing nice copy here. It's really good. I really like it.
I actually sold a BMW 2 Series today.
Yeah.
And this couple said to me, I don't know, normally I don't buy these kind of cars, but you were so enthusiastic and you told everything. And it's about your spirit that we're buying it, because otherwise we bought something cheaper.
They came in for a Mito 1.4 with 75 HP and you sold them a 2 Series.
Yeah, something like that.
Great. Okay, you're number 2.
It's a really unpopular choice. Somebody will hate me for it. A Mini Cooper S with the R56, so the later version. So from 2011 on, the engines get a little bit better.
A tiny little bit, right?
Tiny little bit. But if that one is maintained right, you can just tune it, because that's all about tuning, sub 10K. And it's like so fast and just engages you in the drive. And these Minis are light. They're nimble. They rattle and squeak everywhere, so you won't be... Yeah, it's a cheap one. It has some flair, It has a little car which has some flair.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's a nice car.
And this engine is really nice. If it's okay, so you walnut blasted it, the distribution chain is okay, it is fine.
And I do think a lot of people know about the struggles of the Cooper of that generation, so probably the prices will be a bit lower because no one wants to buy one. So you can actually get a nice one, I guess, for a good price.
I did some search, but they're quite hard to get by.
Oh, yeah.
Even when they're sub to 2011. So I hoped that we could do the 2-liter Cooper S version from the version later, but it's not to do.
This is not consumer advice, by the way. Do not buy these cars.
No, but somebody please buy a Peugeot 207 SV RC. Please do that.
I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but for anyone who has any technical knowledge, you could actually get that.
Yeah.
You could get it.
Maybe.
Yeah. My second choice has 2.5 turbo from Volvo.
Oh.
This is also a car that I tried to extend for the longest while. But if anyone ever asked me, what is your favorite series of cars ever made? My instant answer would be the Ford Mondeo. I love the Ford Mondeo. I just think it's such a good car. It offers anything that you would like, especially if you get it from the right era. It drives well and etc. I found a 2007, so first year of the Mark IV Mondeo, with a 2.5 5-cylinder engine of Volvo with 220 HP. And I know for a fact that you can tune the motherfucker out of this. So
I did one a few weeks ago. Oh, that one is really nice, man.
So it's a black station wagon.
It's also here in the streets for sale.
Really?
Yeah,
it's here.
Yeah, it's here. It's 2 doors, 2 doors up, and it has a sunroof.
Oh my gosh!
No, actually, I tuned one, and they're so nice to drive. It's like, and they look. It's a bit of a cliche, of course, but they still look like an Aston Martin. I still know, the first.
Nah, it's a sleeper.
No, but you know the first one of the Bond movies where it was introduced?
Bond drove a 2000.
Yeah.
Imagine. 2007. Little Joop, 10 years old. I was starting to find out that I was gay. Daniel Craig was walking out of the sea shirtless. Meanwhile, he was driving a Ford Mondeo. That was my dream, man, back then. Can you imagine?
It's a weird combination, but anyway.
No, but like this car, I just love this Mondeo. It's such a... Especially, I like the Mondeo Mark III even more. I didn't look for an ST220 because it has atmospheric V6, so it doesn't really work for this. But the Mondeo Mark IV with this engine, I would seriously consider getting this.
If you ever have some kids or anything, you should buy an S-Max with that engine. It's also
exactly.
perfect.
I talked about that last week.
No,
in the episode with Plankons with Maurice. Okay. That was my first choice because that is just also the most.
Yeah,
like it's the only MPV that makes me greedy.
It's the only one ever.
It's the only desirable MPV, in my opinion. I like MPVs, but that is the only one I really want to have.
That place in my heart is taken by the R-Class.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. That's almost a minivan, not even a...
Sometimes I'm going to buy that. That's also on the list.
There's one... there is actually one in my building where I work.
Oh,
one
from...
André Rieu. Yeah, only 200 ever made.
Yeah, I know.
So that is definitely...
sorry. But anyway, the 2.5 liter is a marvelous engine.
To how much HP can you tune it?
Yeah, 270 something. The turbo isn't that big. So the problem is it gets filled really easy. So you need everything on the exhaust side to be better. But it's so torquey, so it can be easily go to 420 Newton meters, and you have it like at 2,000 revs already.
So good. There's people like I'm again in the UK that tune 2.5Ts to 600 or 700 HP. It's ridiculous. It's but
at my time I worked at Ford. I worked at Ford on Saturdays for a few years, and then the STs were already. The 2.5 was phased out to the 2.0 EcoBoost, and everyone was like, "Oh, we really miss this engine. It was easy to work on." And
good sound.
Yeah, the only problem is when you couple it to an automatic gearbox. So last week we had two V50s here, one manual, and the other one automatic. And the automatic just bashes every piece of joy out of this engine.
You know what the thing is? Ford made great handling cars back in this era, but they only attached shitty engines to it and shitty gearboxes. The Ford manual gearboxes, best ever made. Like Ford gearboxes manual, they are perfect. Yeah. Automatics, please do not get it.
But anyway, every Ford gearbox was really well. I drove a Ford Puma for a really long time.
Oh, nice.
And it has the IB5 gearbox, I think it's called like this.
It's on my bucket list too.
Yeah, but they're all rusty at the moment, so they're getting really expensive.
A car's on my bucket list too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's also...
He's just looking at me like...
No. I know. The sport car is really nice.
I would even get a regular car.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would. In yellow, with a sunroof.
It will be a very cheap...
Fun car. It just needs more horsepower.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's also fun to drive a car. Like a Lotus Elise with 120 horsepower. You have a car which is
light, nimble,
super capable. Yeah. And the engine is the only thing that fucks it up. So you have like everything is good, but you only have to do. You really have to do your best following your mates.
Yeah. Yeah, true. The car was the car I learned to drive in, so it was. I loved it. It was so good.
In retrospect, it was a really nice little
It's a good car. Yeah. Okay, we're going to our number ones. And I know for a fact that we both chose a Saab. Like, I just know we did.
I hope I bought... I thought about the Saab V6.
Okay, and so that could be a 9.5. Very early.
It will be a 9.3 Aero.
Ah, okay. What do you think about Saabs with V6s?
Most people say, that's not a Saab engine.
It's a GM engine.
It's a GM engine, specifically a Holden engine. So they were assembled in Australia.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but don't forget that Holden and Saab worked together on another project really early on for the Holden Commodore. Mm-hmm. And also a nice fact that most Saabs, which were pre-production car, were registered with a Holden chassis number in Sweden. So if you just look up in Sweden, you can just look every... license plate up, you will see that most of those pre-production cars were registered as Holden Commodore. So really fun fact.
Yeah.
That on the side. What really tickles me on this car is that the engine was like in 2005 was introduced, 2004. It picks up really in low revs. You can tune it super easily. You can bolt everything on it. It has a really weird way how the turbocharger is made, and it's all in such cramped engine bay. But this engine really comes alive with some tuning on, and it makes the 9.3 Saab a hot rod. Because you have wheel spin on dry roads in third gear when you put your foot down on a stock car with stage 1. It feels so insane. For your idea, we tuned the few with gas in it, so LPG in it and everything, and you only put a stage 1 on it, and 80 to 120 kph is 2.7 seconds in third gear.
Fuck off. What?
That's exactly as fast as the fastest 5 Series from those years, like a 550i.
Ridiculous.
It's exactly just as fast.
What body type would you go for?
I would always go normally for a manual sedan, I think, or automatic, because automatic on these cars is really good. But I'm a convertible lover, and the Saab convertible has some special place in my heart.
You're not going to find this for 10k.
You do. There's one in the street for sale at the same dealership you found your Mondeo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's also on LPG, so it probably has 400,000 kilometers. You can find it. A few years you could. But at this moment, there are like Saab 9.3 Aero V6s for sale for 3,500 euros. And you have like the fastest car money can buy. You have a really long gear ratio. You have a good sound system. The car has a timing chain. You can easily tune it. Only your coil packs will give up, but that's typical. And it's also super economical on the highway because it's a high compression car. So it has a really high compression. So it will run really lean on the highway. I drove one for years, and it's really cheap to run. Only you don't have to go in the city center. And it's done. But anyway, everything about that, besides that, it's better.
I love that. I always look at cars design-wise or quirk-wise, and you look at it from a technical side, which is quite fun too. I think the best-looking 9.3 is the sedan Aero. I think that just looks so good. I own a convertible, so I can say this. The convertible looks good from some angles. Yeah. It doesn't look good from every angle. And the 9.3, the sedan Aero with the kits and stuff, looks good from every angle. It is such a good design, especially the pre-facelift. Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah, and it's timeless. And also this dashboard with all these green lights and all these buttons.
Super cheap, but yeah.
Super cheap. But it has some special to it. And you put the night panel, and I know this is said 1,000 times, and everybody will say, these Saab guys, they're nuts with their night panel. It just gives such a special feeling.
Unpopular opinion, I never use night panel.
Always use it.
No, and I always say Saab wanted to design a premium car with the 9.3, but they forgot the interior.
Oh, but they forgot more than the interior, mate.
Good. We're going to my first choice.
Okay.
This is the only Saab that I would ever own. I'm done with owning Saabs. If I ever sell this one, I wouldn't get a Saab again, except for one Saab. Do you have any idea what it is?
I don't know. And maybe a classic 900? No? You have to spill it.
Add 10 to 900. I would get a 9000.
9000?
I love the 9000s.
Yeah, actually, they are 40 years old this year.
But I love everything about it. I love the whole Tipo 4 story, that it was developed really together with the Italian cars. And then Saab found out the Italians are actually crap at building cars. So they completely did the development of the cars. They redid that. Then made it every Saab 9000 sold was built at a non-profit for Saab. I love everything about it. And there's one specific car that I love, and that is the Aero. The Aero is just perfect. And I found one at Saab Specials. Of course, you know them. Which probably, I think, has been for sale for quite a long time. But it's this one.
Oh, yeah, there's that one.
I want a Saab 9000 Aero.
And it's a specific one, too, because it's a 2-liter Aero. So it's an Italian one.
There's 2.3 and 2.0, right?
Yeah, because in Italy, of course, the cubic inches of the car has something to do with taxes. Yeah. So everything above 2 liters is more.
I love everything about that car. I love that at that point when it was bought new, it was at these intermediate sprints, it was faster than the newest Ferrari. That is insane to me. I saw a test of a Swedish auto journalist that did a look back on cars, and he tested the 9000 against the 850R, the Volvo 850R. And they sold, of course, the Volvo 850R is the legend, is the icon, but is a bad car compared to the Saab. The Saab is the car that you want to get. The 9000 is the driver's car. It has the turbo, the feeling. I just love the 9000.
It's a really special car. I never got the 9000, just guys around me. I have some Saab friends, and this friend of mine, Christian, who lived in Sweden for a long time. He said to me, "Yeah, Dion, come over. I'm studying, and then we go to Trollhättan, and then we go to the Norwegian border. We went to the car cemetery of Basnes."
Okay. Oh yeah, I heard of that.
Amazing.
I think. Yeah.
Anyway, and he had a 9000 2-liter automatic, so the most slow one. But he, of course, I tuned it before he went to Sweden, and we drove it, and then this whole 9000 feeling came to me because it's sort of a bathtub. It's really silent on the highway. It's super comfy.
So solid.
Yeah, and these chairs are so nice. It's a really special car, but you look like somebody who is
old money.
You have to be like a little bit weird to drive one. And maybe work at the library or something like this, or be a professor, you know?
Saab owners are weird in general. I think I can say that. But 9000 owners are a whole different cup of tea.
Yeah, and they also have always multiple 9000s.
Yeah, exactly.
I know a guy who has more than 50. I think he owns more than 50 9000. So then you're mentally a little bit ill. And also, if you know that they're in Holland, there are like 200 or 300 still registered.
And he owns 50 of them.
Yeah, I don't know if they're registered. Maybe there are parts cars between. But anyway, he owns a lot.
The 9000 is such a good car.
Yeah.
I really like it. Feels like I've driven one and I've sat in one. It feels like you're sat in a tank or a truck. It just feels so solid. Everything about it feels worked out. And I love that it's a typical Saab without being a typical Saab. That is just...
I owned a Tima 8.32. So and then if you just... And then move to a 9000, and the 9000 feels very sturdy.
Yeah.
But you feel the Italian flair in the Thema, and then you're going into the Saab, and then you feel like, oh, this is more designed around the one who's driving it. And then if you sat in the chairs from the 9000 Aero,
so good.
You get hugged.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so good. Yeah,
and you forgive the car for seating too high, not being able to move your steering wheel, so you're always sitting a bit like a clown in it, and then you're driving it, and then it's like. Yes. And also I think that 9000 owners always look at each other. They know something you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know? Yeah.
Some owners have that in general, but 9000 have that extra little bit.
Extra, because you can just be a weirdo and buy a Saab 95, but you never want, for instance, buy a 9000 because it was for sale near you.
I would get a facelift 9000 liftback. That is the one I want.
I would get a pre-facelift 2.3 Turbo S in black. CDs or sedan.
Oh, how do they call it? There's this special package in Britain.
Carlson.
Yeah, those look good with the striping.
That's the exact one that I want. Yeah. But I want the sedan.
Yeah, I can get it. Yeah, I can get that. I follow a guy that has a really nice one. I think he was Swedish or something like that. Because it was called Carlson in Britain and it was another name in the rest of Europe.
I think it was, I don't know, Talladega.
That's the one. That's the one. Okay. High notes to end the podcast with. We've been going on for quite a while now.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we could go on for 2 more hours, but I think not many listeners will still be listening by then. Thanks for being a guest. It was fun.
Thanks for being here. It was really nice to see you.
Thanks for making this fucking travel 2 hours now. Anyways, we're going to walk around the showroom because I need to see some cars.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.